brand new, you're used to best of 3s and best of 5. Well, here we only run with best of 1s in Pro League, regardless of the region, pretty much. And we're going to go through the bans one by one. Theme Park has been eliminated, Consulate, and then Villa as our map. So highly technical map, expecting a lot of operators play like with an Echo, with a Maestro, but we've been seeing a lot of Wamais recently.
Yeah, Wamai has had, I think, as profound of an impact as we had hoped that he would. Kali obviously hasn't really had much of an impact, but Wamai, you being worked into a meta right now alongside Jaeger, it's very much a utility soak style of meta still. Whereas you saw, if you bring a lot of castles, you'd stack up on Maestros, you'd stack up on Goyos, etc. That's designed to eat up your utility. Whereas Wamai and Jaeger work really well together in a way to soak up that utility and at least maneuver it elsewhere or outright delete it if you're Jaeger. So we see these teams obviously getting them paired together and working very effectively, and especially combined with a Thatcher ban, it's very tricky for the attackers to work around this.
Yeah, well, what do you guys think, though, at home? Remember that you can vote on these matches before every match just by going on our social media at ESL Rainbow Six on Twitter, and you'll see 71% for Rogue. Understandable. Obviously, forZe had a big run at the major in Raleigh, but that was a while ago now. It doesn't really count in my books, especially with the player change, especially with the Rogue having experience and more events in that meantime. And coming in here, their performance in online PL has been really, really strong. So yeah, I definitely understand where that percentage would be skewing, or why it would be skewing towards Rogue. But here we are, Villa, and it's between Rogue and forZe. I believe forZe is starting off on the attack on this one too.
That would be correct. Yeah, Rogue is going to get the first operator ban right out the gate, and we'll see who they'll choose to go with. Attacker bans here. Very common to see a hard breacher get banned. Very common to see a Thatcher get banned. So if it ends up being like a Hibana and a Thatcher, that seems to be pretty par for the course. You could possibly see a Capitao get banned as well. But no, it's actually going to be a Maverick, which is a little interesting for me to see a Maverick go, because if there's a Thatcher ban here, things could get real ugly for the attackers.
Yeah, there's the first one. Thatcher, would it be expected? Definitely so. Really taking their time here for the decision. Now we're gonna have it. There's the Hibana. Wow. Okay, double hard breach ban. At least the Thatcher is gonna be available. You were just talking about it. The Thermite's gonna be in too. So you still have the utility necessary. I fear when teams ban the Thatcher that they don't always have a backup plan for it. Even with Kali in the mix, I still am not really sold on the operator in this case. Now here's a first defense ban, and it's a Mira. Predictable bans really most of the time from forZe, especially on the defense. Rogue for the final ban, and I'll expect them to go for either an Echo or a Maestro. Maybe if they're looking for something a bit, more. No, it's a Goyo. There we go. Oh boy, I love this. So yesterday, Devin and I were thinking about, these onion style operators, right? When you're just peeling back and forcing attackers to get into you and dump their utility. Goyo with Wamai, with Jaeger, with Mute and Mazi is combination on maps that have so many hallways that you can kind of choke the attackers into. It's just so strong and so frustrating to play against.
Yeah, have we ever seen two hard breachers banned on Villa before? Because I want to say if we have, it's definitely not something that's registering with me or popping into my mind. Mind you, we do watch an awful lot of games, so it's not exactly something that we would be immediately top of our mind. But
I mean, it has happened in the past, but it never. If I remember correctly, it was never. Something that bothered too much, because it was already so difficult. Like, it was so far back that teams still had not figured out specifically how to enter with the lack of hard breachers. So it's only now that this sort of thing is more viable, because teams might have been able to adapt to it and actually found strategies around it. And you have the Thatcher, there's a possibility, but forZe are actually foregoing all of that, and they're probably going to go for dealing with any batteries that you see Hicks bringing on the Bandit just from below. So taking control of Kitchen is going to be pretty important early on for forZe.
Yeah. Curious as to how they funnel on in and deal with this. We don't even see the typical floor being shot out either for the thermite to be dealt with. It's going to make a mission's job quite challenging unless forZe is able to establish that pressure on that first floor the way they want to. There's a lot of ways to tackle any bandit batteries or electric claws that can get put up on those walls. In this case, Rogue is going to go with just one denial, and it's going to be the bandit. So they're going to completely forego a mute as well, just as a backup. Essentially what this is going to do, number one, expect the attackers on almost every single round, unless they decide to just go on in and fight, and do very little drone work and very little, I guess, discovery. If it just ends up being a fist fight, you're going to look at attacks coming out very, very delayed, because those pests are going to eat up a lot of time, those Maestro cameras are going to eat up a lot of time, and then especially when you have to tackle that wall, unless you are actually capable of getting those bandit batteries off, then well, that's going to hurt actually quite a lot, and that one is as well. There's 2 kills that come out almost immediately, and Rogue are being extremely aggressive here. They've taken out a mission, they get refragged off, and everybody's dying. There are 4 people dead in the first minute. So remember what I said about this being slow? I guess I was wrong.
Yeah, completely in this case. It happens to the best of us. Corey's going to find one more on the WTG, and there's Shockwave demolished in the hallway in 90. Basically, we were talking about why double hard breach is so rare, and it's because most of the teams are going to have some sort of control on the bedroom, but the adaptation nowadays, as teams have figured it out, is to attack from the opposite end of the map. There's a defense in statuary and in trophy, attack from the opposite end in aviator game room, pressure from bedroom, and then you can take it from there. That's the big thing. That means that you don't always need that extra heart breach, and denying is only going to waste a bit of time. However, Rogue realized this, and they baited forZe directly into Aviator Games Room, where they had everything planned, control of 90, control of Game Room itself. What are you going to do after that? Well, really nothing much, because there's nitros being prepped from below. Rips is ready to run out at any point in time. The windows are being used correctly. Rogue just had so much information, and I don't know how they were able to grab all of it off of maybe default cams early on in the round, but they adapted so quickly to it. And that's definitely something to applaud in the first round. forZe just got genuinely knocked out the moment they tried to get into the building.
We're all, I mean, I want to say I think we were all, because I think that is correct, but I, more than anybody, was very curious as to how forZe was going to play that, and we didn't really get to see that.
I mean, the way they started out is the correct way. You have lack of hard breach, you're pushing into bedroom. What do? Go in and pressure from the opposite end in Aviator Games Room. It's the thing that makes the most sense. However, that was pretty much what Rogue baited him into. I mean, honestly, it is a 200 IQ play.
No, I think Rogue played that perfectly. Rogue was extremely aggressive on a map like Villa, where you tend to see defenses be a little bit more reserved, a little bit more conservative with how they decide to push out. And, well, I mean, we've seen a couple different Latin America matches where you'll have somebody like Liquid in particular who are very, very precise on how they entry and how they defend and how aggressive that can be. Rogue are a team that often kind of flies under the radar for their aggressiveness, because a lot of times it's Aces who's making these like miracle hero plays, but the rest of the team are all capable of doing the same thing. The only person I would say that jumps out on Rogue's roster that isn't is Hicks. But if you're Rogue, you're able to take these aggressive fights and win. Except in this case, Rise, I think, just tries for a little bit too much. He gets very greedy. So does Corey. And even though it's a defense down below, forZe are reading into this one perfectly. This is going to leave both Aces and Rips off-site, very far off-site, actually. And oh my, they're just not particularly close to being able to do anything here.
Again, this is the reverse take that we were talking about. Nitrocell is going to sail, and unfortunately it hits the top of the windowsill, or the door still there, but Ace is going to get one immediately refragged there by Shockwave, and leaves the Maestro on his own. You can go and plant. It's all free. There's only the Maestro in Classical Hall here on 90, so you can kind of just, stun him as Zofia, pressure him in, and just walk into site and go for a plant. Rips is not going to be able to do too much. There's a reverse repel, a big quality of European teams being used up here as they just get off of it. Emision's going to go for the plant, and the Maestro is being caught on every single side. There's the kill, though, from Pasha as he rounds the corner. Man, 2 rounds, and each round has been won so dramatically by one side that it was all off of a tiny mistake that one team made, and just everything collapses on top of one another.
I actually completely looked up the wrong site. I was like, wait a minute, they were defending trophy first round. I was like, what the? And I was like, oh, they're an aviator this time. So the way that Rogue is playing it is extremely unpredictable, and it's working very well. The problem is that you go back with that old, if we don't know what we're doing, then what do our opponents don't know what we're doing. I think forZe pretty much understands how to play map control on this map, and especially if you're taking that second floor. The one thing I will say about forZe is they haven't really been focused on taking the first floor control at all. The only time that we saw forZe start to pressure first floor was when they droned out members of Rogue that were playing on or near staircases, and that's when forZe realized, hey, we'll go for that trade. And that's what we saw with the Ashe play. When Rask rappelled right on in, Shockwave was down below, very patiently waiting as he pushed up enough to catch the Mozzie, and, you know, down he goes. So good coordination from forZe, and almost a complete opposite of that first round. That first round being forZe were not particularly strong at knowing where Rogue's position was. They got caught off guard. I think they tried to entry very cautiously and almost very routinely for Villa. And Rogue was there to greet them. forZe not expecting a team to be that aggressive. And then forZe said, let's take nothing to chance. Let's actually drone this one out and make sure that we know where to entry from. Doing a much better job of learning from their mistakes almost immediately. And forZe capitalizes off of it. Now, are we going to see a change from Rogue? Because we saw that from forZe. forZe changes immediately for round number 2. Does Rogue start to play more of a static, more of a traditional style of defense here on Villa? That's going to be the thing to look out for, as it once again goes back to Aviator for the second site, or for the second round in a row.
Yeah, traditionally Villa is that hyper defensive sided map, right? So you want to conserve as many rounds to the defense as humanly possible. You're not wanting to give the attackers, excuse me, more than a couple of rounds, and even then you're basically at the central point of what this map usually looks like on site comparison. But drone is going to be super important here, and forZe are trying to keep as many drones available as we get to see all of that on the UI. The X's by the drones are the ones that have already been destroyed, so there's utility abound to use later down the line here. 2 minutes left as forZe are looking for someone early on, but the picks are not presenting themselves. As I say that, oh, is that a Jaeger of your Corey trying to peek around the corner? Shockwave is going to find the first one in the meantime, though, on to Rise, and I'm not sure where Rise was placed right now, but Corey will take a tiny bit more damage, and Rogue will have to fall off in the meantime, using utility, dumping it right in the face of the Ashe to slow down forZe.
Surprised here that Rogue is still doing the same thing, still committing to that same style of play, not really bothering to maybe settle themselves down as much, and maybe they'll realize that if they tighten some things up, that they can continue to hold on the way that forZe is going to entry. And forZe's entry's been over towards Astronomy. It's on the north side of the building. They are expecting someone to push upstairs, as you can see, and there's nobody there. I'm wondering exactly what you got the thermite over in this position. You're likely going to take vault. That would be my guess, is they'll probably take the wall to vault and then continue to go from there. But the thing is that you've got a Maestro camera positioned over by 90, and there's a C4, what appears to be from below. Pasha's going to rush up and prep the grenade for this Maestro cam. Rips had an opportunity to decide to go for the fight. He doesn't, though. He just falls off. And of course, because of the Zofia launcher, his position's been given away. So pushing him back is very smart now. And with plenty of time to go, there goes your first bit of hard destruction.
Yeah, and the beauty of opening this wall into the vault is because you're shutting down rotations between the two sites, and usually that's something that really hurts the defenders and their ability to just find a safe spot throughout what's left in the round. Hicks is sitting back, and there's a smoke canister being thrown out. Fortunately, it won't be hitting Emission anytime soon. WTG will take 1 kill. That's another one for Pasha. In the meantime, the 4v2, it's forZe going in for the plant. Rotation from behind as Ace is trying to go for the gunfight. WTG will be lost. And oh no, Hicks taken out in the hallway. It's all on to Aces now. He's checking every position. He knows that his teammate just was taken down at the top of the island, and he's moving in by the indestructible bar. Information aplenty for forZe, and they know where he's at. A lot of noise made by Mr. Goose himself, and forZe will secure their second round on attack. A very good start for the Russian squad.
Yeah, this is a really impressive play here, especially on a defender-sided Villa with both hard breachers banned. You would suspect that this would even be more hard breacher, or rather more defender-sided. It's not, though, which is really fascinating. And I feel like we saw this. I honestly feel like we saw this with Team Liquid. Was that when that Team Liquid matchup on Villa happened a while back, I think they banned Thatcher and I think they banned Maverick. And it was like, all right, well, now what are you going to do? Well, there were a lot of rounds where Liquid wasn't even bringing a single hard breacher, and they're still able to pull off their executes. Obviously, in this case, you're going to have a mission locked into that thermite role. He's played it every single round. Only been able to get one exothermic charge off, in large part because round 1 was lost. Round 2 was very slow. Round 3, you basically have one thermite charge go off on Vault, and that's all you need, and then you have that control. The rest of forZe is really stacking up on their explosives. Look at this lineup. You've got a Sledge who could honestly just be cycled out for a buck. Pasha knows how to play both. You've got Ashe and you've got Zofia. You've got breaching charges on Shockwave for vertical play if the site ends up going down to that bottom floor, which is also a little curious that Rogue isn't doing that. We'll get back to that in just a second. But one thing that forZe is doing effectively is they're taking map control quickly, and they've got 2 people that are basically hard stuck on drones and guiding in Rask, guiding in Pasha, and allowing them to do maximum damage and continuously take up control while chipping away at some of the soft destruction that's being left by Rogue. On a map, or rather on a map like Villa, there's always going to be an abundance of soft destruction, be it on the floor or on the wall, depending on how you set up. But Rogue, I still think Rogue needs to play a little bit more conservatively against this forZe squad because they're giving up early picks, and if they're not winning their gunfights, Rogue is just unfortunately going to find themselves at a disadvantage almost every round.
Yeah, pretty much. So Rogue adapting here their best. And one thing that Rogue's been very strong at, not just here, but in general, is prepping for those nitro cells from below. Their lurking abilities is always something to be applauded. Yet forZe are pretty much bringing the hammer, and they're playing this playstyle and the lineup of operators that is tried and tested. They're not reinventing the wheel. This is similar to how Empire, for example, would play things. You're bringing operators that together would work very well. You got soft destruction, hard destruction, even with the limitation of both the Maverick and that Hibana being banned out. And yeah, you're working with it very well. And I do agree. The Buck is a better choice specifically on this map than the Sledge. You have a lot more flexibility on vertical destruction with the Buck. And I really wish that was the only change that they had. Otherwise, forZe are really bringing all of everything they really need for it. And there is the biggest explanation of how forZe are doing things. Always drone in front of the Ashe, giving information, Ashe or any other operator, and there's somebody feeding info the whole time. However, Hex is going to connect with a nitro cell, the Ashe being pushed in from 2 angles, and oh, Rogue, the successful bait and switches. Rise is going to take down Rask. He's taking a lot of damage, but that's so much utility being burned off of the attackers. And Shockwave comes in from behind, checking the kitchen. He'll get one more as Hicks drops down, doing his best Spider-Man impression. He'll find Shockwave. That's Pasha and WTG, the last 2 alive for us. One more for WTG. Hicks eliminated on his walk up back to site. The site is completely open. You can go and plant. However, the diffuser is on the floor, so you're going to need to go and pick this one up. Pasha holding Astronomy. He'll find Rise all onto Corey, who has a nitro cell in the back pocket to use. Does he know where he needs to be watching, though? No diffuser has been planted yet. And he's looking. He's got utility. The drone will confirm his position, and he does not know that there's a player waiting for him inside a bedroom. Flashbang should get thrown here at any point in time, or well, grenade. There's one from Pasha that's been thrown, but unfortunately, it's a bit too far back to do any damage. And watching for rotation, there's the drop, the run out, and from behind, WTG will find the pizza man, and that's Corey down and out. forZe 3 rounds on the attack, and Villa, that's a great start.
I don't know if Corey just wasn't simply aware of somebody playing in Master. We knew that he was largely blind on info, and he was getting calls from his teammates, but not obviously not confident in the position of the last one, or if he had known that there was somebody behind him, he sure wouldn't have crouch walked his way out. But man, forZe were really able to bail themselves out with the trades that they had in the crossfire that they were able to establish right after that initial kill from Rogue. You know, I'm very impressed with the way that forZe played against Vitality, and I know that it was Vitality on Monday. Vitality on Monday are a dreadful team. Vitality on Wednesday are the greatest team in the world. So you've got to realize that it could have just been Vitality failing to show up. Today, forZe are absolutely dominating on attack on a map where they really shouldn't be. And, you know, I don't know what Rogue's focus is or isn't. There was a little bit more standard of a defense from Rogue there than what we've seen so far. But it's still just, they gave up picks unnecessarily, taking gunfights they didn't need to against forZe. And I'm just questioning the way Rogue is doing this. I don't know, you know, it's not saving strats. I don't know if it's just a different way that they play, because we've seen them play quite a lot on Villa, actually. I'm sort of confused by Rogue continuously is giving up picks to forZe, especially a team like forZe who will capitalize often on 1v1 gunfights.
Very curious. At this point, forZe are very happy with the results. 3 rounds in attack on Villa is really, really good. This is, of course, based on the usual statistics that this is the most defender-sided map so far in the league. So, no, we can't count Theme Park in just yet. As we know, Chaos has 100% win rate on the map, definitely being the most dominant team on the map so far. So, yeah, something of a statistic for all the Reddit gold farmers out there. Rask going to continue to drone in for himself and check the red stairs. Nobody on there just yet. And yeah, it's still all about that top floor control, and Ash is wasting no time raiding those tombs and walking on into Aviator. There's another drone to be thrown out. The first one had already been set to watch for rotations in red. You want to come in, you want to take bedroom, trophy, and astronomy. Once you're there, you might be able to push down onto site, but what it affords, of course, is that huge line of sight. You talked about breaching charges. There's so many of them available for forZe, plus the sledge. They have a utility aplenty for this sort of attack and preparation.
I'm very glad that we see them heading down, in terms of Rogue, heading down to Kitchen. This has been the go-to secondary site for an awful lot of teams here, and a big part of that is because when it plays out very similarly to Trophy Statuary and how you take control, you're going to be taking control of that second floor before you can push towards the bottom. And, well, that gives you just a little bit of a buffer. It's what we see with teams on Cafe, is that it allows you a little bit extra time as a defender between yourself and the next bit of action. And man, Rogue are really taking the fight still. Again, I've said this time and time again, I've always confused by the fact that Rogue are just continuously trying to bait forZe into these positions. forZe have capitalized many rounds. This round so far, no. First 2 picks come to Rogue, and then 1 traded off by forZe onto Rips, who I think needlessly peaked. Again, there's a lot of peeking going on from Rogue trying to take these engagements where they really don't need to. Another from forZe is they've equalized, and we're looking at a very similar, I guess, pattern emerging now for Rogue, where they get the upper hand early and then they just kind of squander it. This is exactly what happened in the previous round and is now happening here, is that the first couple picks go for Rogue, but are they able to do much else? Well, the answer is yes. So far, Corey picks up one onto Shockwave. It gives Rogue yet another advantage, leaving forZe with just a Thermite and an Ash, but when Rask is on the field, you can never really count out forZe.
Now, there's a Mijian watching for any rotations or any runouts really into Laundry. There's the peak, and there's a tiny angle being used by Corey as he gets 1 kill. And the Valkyrie is keeping tabs on all of this. Good aim reset there, is trying to find the rest of the players. And he's going to get shot from the side. Actually, Hicks just dropping on down. I wanted to say, like, kudos to Hicks for actually surviving in the Mozzie so long inside of Trophy. He was able to deter his opponents, draw fire, get kills off of it, drop down to the site, and that really gave the advantage early on to Rogue. But as you said, we don't really want it to turn yet again into a repeat of the past few rounds where Rogue gets an advantage and then everything falls apart because forZe somehow is able to push them, confine some players from Rogue, and then capitalize on the fact that some Rogue players are peeking needlessly. You don't want to give away players in those engagements, and forZe are definitely not a team that's going to make 1v1s easy for you, that's for sure.
No, not at all. Neither of these teams are particularly bad at losing their 1v1s, but forZe obviously just have such great duels, and we saw what was a 3v1. It honestly could have become a 1v1 very quickly if Rask was able to get the kill on whoever would have peeked through Kitchen, but the crossfire that was established by Rogue wouldn't allow him to do that. Once again, the one thing that we keep seeing from forZe is they are really only taking one floor at a time. They are not splitting up their forces. I don't know if there's droning going on down below while there's somebody entering from above. There have been an awful lot of C4 kills from Rogue, which really, to me, leads me to believe that Rogue are very well equipped when it comes to information. They've been running either a Valkyrie or a Maestro or a Mozzie, or at least multiple combinations of that lineup very often, and a big part of that is to give them that info, whether you get a drone with Corey or not. That Mozzie can be used another way. But forZe, I don't know if they're droning down below. They might be, and they might just be saying, you know what, we know their position, let's just push anyway. But the amount of destruction that Rogue is able to do from another floor has been very high over these 5 rounds, and we'll see if it holds on this 6th round. To me, it just leads me to believe that forZe aren't doing the work that's needed on the multiple levels that are Villa. And against a team that likes to roam really aggressively, giving up that first pick is always a danger. If you're forZe in this case, you were able to come back from it a couple rounds and almost, on 2 rounds, almost make it work, despite the fact that you forfeited that first pick. So I'm not sure. We're going to go back upstairs for the very final defense, and it's going to give forZe an opportunity to try to take trophy statuary, of which they are tied on. They've won it once and they lost it once. So here we have the split entry. So yeah, you can see 2 drones down below. Ras getting droned in. He's coming from the bottom, and he catches Hicks beautifully. That's absolutely gorgeous play and good coordination. That's the kind of thing that you need to see more of from forZe. But obviously, we're going to be switching sides, so this is your last crack at it.
Yeah, I'm pretty excited to see because, Rogue banned out the Goyo. Maybe this is something, understanding that forZe, might want to play more into the operator. I know everybody's been playing more into Goyo nowadays, so yeah, maybe that's something that the second half will prove. But getting an early pick here for forZe when they've been winning off of even losing these sorts of engagements in the previous rounds is pretty darn impressive. WTG will take half damage here as he's just watching for the peaks, and you're trying to do what there, but it's a quick flick from the Zofia to survive just for a bit more. More pressure coming in from the Sledge of Pasha. He's got a drone right in front of him, confirming, hey, there's no one behind the desk in Astronomy, and you really only have to worry about one player, the Smoke here, sitting right behind the singular, or actually the double reinforcement, is it? Singular reinforcement there between Astronomy and Trophy. Grenade being prepped around the corner, and it will connect, doing a bit more damage to Rips. SMG-11 will come out maybe for the gunfight here, but everybody's kind of evac the location. Rask will take half HP damage as he's wondering, where's this information all coming from? Everybody from forZe is stacking up in Astronomy, and I'm no Nostradamus, but there's Nitro Cells. I was just going to talk about it, but they don't connect. They actually drop WTG on the floor, and Corey will connect. There's still Rask on the floor, and the Maestro is trying to find the perfect angles for it. A lot of damage done, and there's one more downed. Going for the finisher, but knowing that this could all be used for bait. The smoke around the corner is going to get smoked. That strips down, and it's left to Corey and Rise to try to bring this one back. There's a Nitro Cell in the back pocket of the Valkyrie as Corey takes so much damage on the entry. Nitro should be prepped correctly. Will it be enough? It will connect, and Corey is already down 1 and take them out. Shockwave's going to go in for the plant, but the Valkyrie is too far away. The Mozzie's still alive, though. It's just to say that gets taken out. 1 kill, though, for the Valkyrie of Rise. All onto Ras. The Ash around the corner. Perfect timing for the MPX, and Rise in the 3K will connect. It'll bring it back to a 3-3 at the half, and Rogue, realizing that forZe are just going to double up and try to push onto site, kept putting pressure on them, put them inside and squarely inside of Astronomy. And yeah, Nitro Cells aplenty, slowing things down, splitting between the 2 sites. Rogue adapting so well through the mid-round.
That was just continuous nonstop action that we saw, and really probably should have been forZe's round. It was just a major blunder by Rask trying to get out. A smart play, I guess, from Rask, as I think he knew that there was going to be a rotate happening, and when you're outside against that MPX with Rask holding the R4C, he's going to win that more often than not. But honestly, this was just the reverse of what happened with forZe's strategy. You saw them enter from the first floor. They picked off a couple members of Rogue, and then the fight that happened ended up leaving everybody down significant HP, with Rogue peeking a little bit too much, trying to take advantage of the fact that forZe members might have been looking in other directions. Didn't end up coming to pass, though, because even though they were looking in other directions, the forZe members that did pivot were able to get the kills that were needed. And we saw, in particular, it was the Sledge who did an exemplary job of taking out 2 members of Rogue if it wasn't for ryze's efforts at the end, which I don't think were just instinct that had to have been set up by the Valk cams and the Maestro cams that were in play, I think that round, you know, goes very strongly in forZe's favor. They had really everything working for them. They were in a post plant. Shockwave puts it into a 1v2, and ryze really just flies under the radar. I don't know if forZe had any drones left. I don't know what their comms were like, but they couldn't hear anybody coming, and they ended up paying for it. So we'll swap sides now, though, and with the very first defense here for forZe, they're going to go up top, and it looks like a pretty standard lineup from them. A lot of teams really favoring this Ela on Villa, and a large part of that is because you're going to be engaging in narrow corridors. There's only 1 or 2 areas where you're fighting at long range. You think to maybe that classical hallway, 90 leading over towards Master, or 90 leading all the way towards the top of the stairs, but most of it is going to be in a position where your first 14 bullets, or however many, before the recoil really starts to get bad, is going to be extremely effective. And let's also not underline, or let's not, I guess, look over the fact that there's a Zofia that's going to be running almost every single round, and Ela is obviously semi-immune to her abilities, or at least recovers a little bit faster.
Yeah, so usually this is why you see a Jaeger or a Maestro that's sitting inside of 90, and you can just put the Ela in CQC perfectly and just fight day in, day out. There's the Jaeger, actually, that is sitting at the top of 90, and the Ash is going to peek around the corner. Oftentimes, having soft and open walls is going to confuse attackers even more, and I like this sort of play from forZe. Rogue were probably expecting that they would have to enter in through completely reinforced walls, and that's not the case, and Aces will find the stun on a Rask and take him out. A good play here to start off and take down the Jaeger. Ash charge being used at the top of the stairs, and I'm not sure what they were able to snipe through there, Rogue, but definitely some utility that was used and prepared. ryze is gonna find a long angle onto Pasha in the meantime from the balcony, and Rogue have a good way of entering into this. They are using Aces so effectively. The man that's known usually for gunfights up close is doing work and support from below. A thermite dropped on the floor, and the Ela perfectly used.
It was either confidence on Rogue's part there, or it was just simply that they realized that they can pull this off without a hard breach, because obviously your thermite is your only hard breacher. Both Maverick and Hibana are banned, so you're going to just have to go for fistfights at this point, or gunfights rather, if you want to be more specific. So ryze gives his life away. I don't know if that was deliberate. That could just be cockiness. That could be hubris. We don't know. It would be something that we would ask later in a post-game interview, which we don't have, so you just have to speculate at this point. 40 seconds, though, give or take, for, you know, Rogue to be able to pull this one off. And it's going to come from over towards Classical Hall. You've got 2 members of Rogue stacked up there. You've still got 1 member down below looking for a C4 in the hands of forZe that looks to be the Valkyrie, and C4 appears to be ripped and ready. But it's going to be going over towards 90. Do they have the information? That's the real question. So fighting back where ryze had died, rather, it's going to be multiple members of Rogue, and the IQ in particular just fighting away. There you go, baited right in is Shockwave. WTG also falls, and Rogue are in a lockout. That Valkyrie who was playing down below in a mission is last left alive. Still just waiting to retake, but there's a blind spot and collapsed upon. Aces gets the very final kill. He started things off, he'll end things as well. Rogue take the very first attacking round on what appears to be a bit more favorable to the attackers here on Villa. Well, anyway.
Yeah, just trying to make sure everything's set up on the mic side. That's it. Sometimes it's just, hey, how about we change this around? Yeah, these sorts of like home casts are very homey, to say the least. It's just reminds me of the good old CL days. So yeah, always trying to make sure that things are set up correctly. So following orders at the time. So yeah, 4 rounds in, Rogue do it well, and it was all off of them kind of baiting forwards into the assaults. When it got to 15 seconds, I'm like, oh my god, Rogue, what are you doing? Are you going to actually walk into it? But it turns out that early pick into the Jaeger was really the biggest play. You liberated 90, and that gave you so many different angles to play as Rogue. And it was just a matter of time before forZe kind of got angsty, and they wanted to find a gunfight. They wanted to find an advantage to close out the round before the time was over.
And that was actually quite interesting because I had harped an awful lot on Rogue playing more conventional, Rogue playing more traditional, stricter, a little bit more patient on defense. But that's what forZe just did. And forZe got their lunch eaten by Rogue. Now, it could just be that Rogue are exceptionally talented at fragging, especially aces, as we mentioned many times. You know, he was Rookie of the Year last year. He was also rated on CGG's list of top players this year. But it also could just be the fact that when both hard breaches are banned, teams just kind of forego typical strategy and they just go for broke. They run in, they're extremely aggressive, they take fights. And if you're just sitting playing this kind of static style of defense, that you're going to get absolutely pummeled because you don't have enough map control, you don't have enough map presence or offsite presence to be able to waste time. So that could be what the theory is here on the way that teams play Villa. It certainly appeared from that first round that that was the case. forZe played really static, and Rogue just crushed them. Slowly but surely, the walls came in, and there was nothing that forZe could have done. So I'd imagine we're going to see maybe a little bit more of an offsite play, and we can already tell there's one inside of Astronomy just waiting ever so patiently. It's Shockwave, he's behind a deployable shield, and you've got two sets of explosives, but you gotta burn out the magnets. There goes a smoke, you see it firsthand, it just goes all the way down to the ash. She's got her charger, or she's got that blaster in hand, down goes the deployable shield, and, or at least hopefully down goes that deployable shield if you're the ash, and it actually, hard to tell from our perspective if it's actually gone down.
I don't know if there was any sort of utility thrown at the end to help out. I don't know if Pasha was, holding any discs in the back, but there's the impact is going to go off, and WTG is going to deny one. Yeah, the shield is still there. There's double ADSs that are placed, and there were the two discs from the Wamai. So overall, this is just a utility dump. I talked about the Jaeger-Wamai combination, and yeah, that's it. Finally, Corey is going to be able to destroy that shield, but it's wasted so much utility. And WTG, again, going for the impact. Does Rise have any hard breach left? Like, does he have a thermite charge? No, it's all gone. How many drones have been taken out as well? There's 4 that have already been destroyed on Rogue's side, and half of what's left, at least 2 or 3, have been just left as rotation watching flank watch drones. That's about it. Rask gonna find Hicks though down below. These pre-placed holes by Shockwave probably are working so well, and they allow Rask to contest players downstairs in the back hallway. As Pasha is going to be walking in forward. You find the kill on the Zofia, the pre-fire around the corner. 1 down, 1 more disc thrown up. And they're just going to sit pretty here. The Ash surviving just a while longer, but Pasha will confirm. Rips is going to get 1 commiseration kill pretty much, but the round might pretty much be done here, Parker.
Yeah, it certainly looks that way. Rogue are in really rough spot. You've got Rise on that thermite. He does some damage, but no, it's both members of forZe, Emission and Rask, getting in on some of the fun, and that will be it. A very weirdly paced Villa, and I mean, I think that's probably going to happen when you have all the hard breachers banned. A lot of teams are just simply going for these gunfights, and we're now through 8 rounds, and that certainly looks like it's the case. Droning, get an early pick, continue to go from there, but expect the unexpected and hope that your drones don't get snagged in the meantime. Really well played from forZe to be able to retake, especially with the Wamai down below, who just completely went sight unseen. Nobody from Rogue was able to spot him whatsoever, and he came up to assist the Smoke, who frankly lived way too long in Astronomy. You had an Ash and a Zofia in position there. You should have been able to get that Smoke out of play much faster than you did, but the magnets being set up the way they were, the Smoke playing as aggressively as he was, Rogue, I don't know what Rogue's comms were like, but I mean, you can jump in on this if you agree or not, but that Smoke probably should have been flushed out. Astronomy control should have been established a minute and a half sooner than it tried to be. It never ended up getting that way because forZe retook through Astronomy. I don't know why Rogue were not a little bit better at being able to take it, and then if they'd taken Astronomy, they could have easily blocked off the Wamai. They could have begun the pressure on the back of both of those sites, and it would have made Rise's job of getting that wall open a lot easier as well.
Yeah, let me, if I were to put my 2 cents on it, you saw the Thermite trying to do all the work on his own. The Zofia was a bit too far back to chuck those stuns correctly down onto the Alibi. And really, when there's an impact trick, there's a lot of times not much that you can do about it on the attacking side. And the biggest advantage that you can give yourself is attacking from the opposite end of the map and taking from Aviator Game Room. In my opinion, that split would have been way better in this case. But the Thermite, it was very obvious that the Thermite had pretty much no support. Corey! Ay. That's a great shot there. An easy spot from a drone probably there. Shockwave taken out. But back to my point. Rogue wanted to do too many things at the same time. And the problem was not your time back in that round. It was just you were overwhelmed. And forZe had all the utility to deal with you. Plus, you're overwhelmed. You're so comfortable by doing everything that you want, of opening the walls and pressuring into astronomy, because you think that there will be no retaliation from forZe. However, the Wamai was very effective at just jumping down, using his MP5 to actually grab a kill on the Zofia. The holes that had already been opened up from Trophy and Astronomy. Overall, the strategy was just perfectly done from forZe, and Rogue fell into the trap, and they overloaded pretty much. There's the stuns being used that are going to force the clash back, but not actually do much more than that. We're seeing aces and more of the flex roll for the team, taking a lot of damage. And WTG, yet again, we're just talking about it. Floorboard holes are so strong on Villa. As one Mr. Devin Emzo Becker would say, the holes, they work both ways.
I always love when that gets brought up, but the Clash is going to be an obstacle here for them to deal with, and they're trying to hunt her down, just continuously pinging, and there goes a little bit of the floor, but the Clash is going to be inside of the actual vault, and while you could still take out some of the vault floor, and there it goes, it doesn't do any damage. The Clash is just able to continue moving away. Emission is on 1 HP, essentially, and will die to a single shot, basically, from any gun that's left in action. Jaeger playing on main stairs as well. He's still behind this deployable shield. 2 members of Rogue are there stacked up. Ryze cannot get the trade. That is a major problem. Corey dies without Ryze being fast enough to be able to do anything. Waiting for the next push that's going to come in. Or rather, Hicks. It was not Ryze. Hicks waiting for that ability for Rask to push. No, Rask is just going to wait. He's not going to give them a single thing. Continuously dancing around, and you just have to wait. If you're the Jaeger, you got 30 seconds left. You are the person who they need to come towards. WTG there for some supporting fire just at the top of the stairs. Waiting ever so patiently still. Playing behind these deployable shields. No member of forZe right now is giving Rogue a single inch. Down goes Rips, rises down 2, and it's time for Ras to pop up. He can't land the shots he needs on the Hicks, at least not all of them, but WTG can. These duos that are playing together, great coordination. Top of the stairs is not relinquished, not once, not for a second. Hicks was just not fast enough to avenge. Was it Corey? And, well, you can't really get that map control you want if you're not able to get somebody out of the position that they're playing behind on those deployable shields. And at that point, all of your utility to break those shields had already been burned trying to find the Clash. Very well played by forZe on that defense.
Exactly. I mean, you're using the Clash as the operator, the crutch, basically. You're chucking all your utility into her to try and get the kill, but unfortunately, that was merely a ruse. That's just the distraction. The real play is the double shield. And honestly, that double shield is so frustrating to deal with. We saw it yesterday in Latin America, and it was even with a Goyo. So you'd imagine not only was there 1 shield, there were like 4 shields in that area. And oh my God, there's just no way to describe it other than frustrating, because you cannot attack from that area. It closes it off completely, and then you add the Wamai and a Jaeger, and it makes it way more complicated. Now, in that case, that wasn't the combination from forZe, but there are ways to make that same defensive position they had, that fortification, even stronger than what forZe had actually set up in there. But Rogue barely set foot into the building, and that's about it. They started off with a kill, stuns, etc., but that wasn't really much map control anyways. It was barely 0 map control. You had nobody pressuring from the back. forZe at any point in time could have rotated one player to whatever side they wanted. So yeah, definitely something for Rogue to think of here, is forZe getting close to that at least 1 point in the play date. Definitely be something that pushes them further up here in the standings. Rogue are ahead of the curve, that's for sure, but at least a point is fine. 3 points would be what you're always looking for. Ties, as Space Station knows very well, is just not something that you want to start getting the hang of.
This is the first time this season of Pro League that forZe has played on Villa as well. So, I mean, I'm not necessarily sure how confident you are if you're Rogue. I mean, mind you, forZe likely played this map during the qualifiers, but in actual competition of Pro League in this best of one setting, they have not. We don't really have any, I don't know, we don't really have any history for them to be picked apart. So up they go, and there's some drone work that's being done on the top floor. Mission has been moved off of that support role and into more of a frag-heavy role, and we'll see what he's capable of doing above. This could be match point, as you said. 1 point for forZe would be huge. They're towards the bottom of the standings. They're in the bottom 5 at least, but you're going to have to do so without Shockwave. Very opening pick is going to go to Rogue. Despite the fact that this matchup is as close as it is, the fragging potential for Rogue has been excellent. They are leading the way when it comes to these opening duels, and it's just an inability for anybody to really do much outside of aces on that killing potential. But hey, Corey hasn't been too bad either. He's been putting in quite a lot of work off of Hard Breach. Rise was largely in that position, and if you look at Rogue's composition, they don't have a single person on Hard Breach right now. This is very Liquid-esque. It's going to bite them, though, because the advantage that was stacked up by Rogue now immediately disappears, and it's a 3v3.
This is now the biggest problem. You don't have full control of that top floor. And if the Jaeger can keep engaging you in Trophy Room, you're going to be afraid of flanks all the time. Raskin is going to find Rise, so that's one more player lost. You're not going to be able to find anyone. And Socket's a secret. The Jaeger's already there, and he's going to come around the corner, confirm one. Close to finding the second as well, but a bit too slow on the aim rotation. And right now, Rips is just unsure. Are they watching me? Do they know where I am? Well, double nitro cells are going to sail, and none of them will hit. Count your lucky stars, Rips, because if he did not check an ADS for just a second at top of Red Stairs, he would have been a dead man right now.
Tough position for them to find themselves in. And Rogue are, again, in a rough spot. Diffuser being surrendered as well. That is just very unlucky timing as you get downed, finished off. If you're Rogue, that's a rough one. That's essentially a glorified trade. And Rask, right now, sitting with SMG-11 in hand, he's only going to need to do a tiny bit of damage, and he misses his first couple shots, but Hicks is just simply out of time. You got to go for the plant there. Well played by forZe. They, again, are able to get themselves out of trouble. A lead that is established by Corey and Aces is all for naught. Yet again, another round where this ends up happening. And I don't know what's going on with Rogue. This is certainly not the same Rogue that we saw against G2, but forZe have looked very sharp so far this week. They've been playing incredibly well on attack. They were able to drone and be quite aggressive and pick apart what Rogue was throwing at them, even though Rogue was playing a little bit unpredictable. And I do think Rogue could have possibly won a couple more rounds by being a little bit more conservative. But right now, Rogue seems to be led by Corey and by specifically Aces. And the moment one of those two fall apart, the likelihood of Rogue being able to win that round goes down immensely. So maybe keep them alive, maybe try to drone them in a little bit better. I'm not exactly sure, but we'll see.
Kali is going to get picked up.
Attackers need to locate and
I can't wait to start, to keep railing on Kali all the time. Someone picks her up. It's like, yes, Tex picked up Kali in APAC Pro League, and he was shooting at a clash to kind of push her back and get her off her shield. But Tex usually can make many things work, and yeah, it's a very, very niche application. Otherwise, I just am really not sold that CRX or whatever you want to call it, the sniper rifle is just no bueno, in my opinion, for the gameplay that usually is played at the Pro League level. You'll get a pick, they look flashy, but that's about it. I don't know if this is the right solution, and you're combining Kali with Thatcher, so it's kind of extra redundancy. Remember, Thatcher has been open this whole time. The biggest question has been, how do we deal with impact tricks? So Rogue's opinion on this is, you know what, for the second round, we're not even going to go with breach, well, any sort of hard breach as we did in the previous one, and let's just try to force gunfights. You know, hold long angles. Maybe we have the combination for it, but that would take force to just get complacent and start hunting for frags themselves, which I don't think they're going to be doing right now, at least looking at the pattern of gameplay throughout the past couple rounds.
Bomb located by
No. I mean, get complacent is a really interesting way to look at this, but I mean, they forfeit another opening pick to Rogue. Can we just stay on Rise for a second, by the way? Can we just stay on Kali for just a moment, please? I want to watch and see if we can do anything. Oh, there you go! Beautiful shot, missed follow-up opportunity, and it's an insta down if it's hit from the waist or below. Just an awful lot of power there, and keep in mind, there's no Thatcher, so Kali's ability is going to work very effectively, or rather, there is a Thatcher in Rips' hands, but if there were no Thatcher, Kali would work very effectively to do that same job. There's no hard breacher right now as Rask pops up, and down goes Corey. Still an advantage right now for Rogue, just by one, as they managed to pick up Shockwave earlier on. Rise knows that there's somebody playing inside of the bar. Waiting to open up angles. Great caliber-based destruction as well from this sniper rifle in the hands of Kali. But right now, we're not seeing a single thing being given from Rask. There he goes. He pops out, goes the other way, takes out Rips, immediately traded by Aces, and it's going to be Diffuser in the hands of Rise as he tries to get up to the rest of his team. An advantage very much for Rogue with over a minute to go.
Well, Kali's going to walk back in. Is of course that... oh, there's a kill from WTG. All right, bullet hole is working well for him, and Aces is going to get finished off. Not sure how much utility was left on the Zofia, but regardless, it is going to be a big loss here. And this is going to try to rotate back on to site. So in terms of close quarters, there's definitely an advantage that can be used for forZe. Hicks with a long angle for him to hold. And that's going to be a big victory against WTG. You're going to have to peek with a CZ, the Scorpion Evo, against both a Kali and an IQ with a G8. That's going to be a long shot, to say the least. Pre-fire around the corner as Rise will take a lot of damage in the engagement. Same goes for Hicks. There's equal amount of HP between these two teams. However, the one shot down from Kali is definitely something to be afraid of. And lying down on the floor, Rise will secure the kill. Amizian taken away. Well done by Rogue. The angle.
Nice flick. Nice flick there as well. I mean, we haven't really seen much of Kali at all. She didn't show up in North American Pro League. I'll admit I slept
through. Showed up in LATAM. I was going to say I slept through the latter two matches of LATAM because of time zones. But the one thing I will say is that I do think she has a place. There we go again. But I imagine this is sixth pick bait. There's not much that you can really do, I think, to try and counter a Kali other than just maybe not peak long range angles, because she's going to be able to take you down. But I would suspect this is probably going to be six pick bait. We'll see if Rise is going to swap off of her, if they're just going to roll with this. Maybe they just liked it. Also, bear in mind that the one thing that Kali is really good at is she can knock away that shield of Clash with a single shot. So if you're really worried about this Clash being effective, you can hit her with one bullet of that sniper rifle. It bounces the shield back, and there's somebody else there that can take advantage of that and gun her down. Given the fact that Rogue's struggle with this site last time came with them expending utility really early on and not having anything to deal with the Clash and not having anything to deal with the deployable shields that were established by forZe. Of course, we saw the Jaeger sitting behind a deployable shield on main stairs, and then at the top of main stairs, we saw WTG doing the same thing as the smoke. You don't necessarily need to use that soft breach potential on the floors if Kali can just blow open the floor herself and then watch it. And a couple shots from that sniper rifle will give you largely the same amount of soft destruction as an Ash charge will. So that's something to keep in mind as well as to why Rogue would make this change.
Attacker's objective is to locate a bomb.
So forZe set up again, pretty much the same setup as they had in the past. I guess that was a couple rounds ago when they were playing on Aviator Game Room. Though I don't see the shields that have been prepped yet. Triple reinforcements on the bedroom, and Rogue are going to start taking from bedroom. It's a smart decision, if you ask me. Rips is also here to support Corey on the entry. The Clash is going to be spotted, and there's your pests that are set around the corner just to deny the information. So you're going to be walking in blind here in just a bit as Aces will continue to drone just around the corner. And there's one inside of trophy room, just juking away with the drone. Finally, it's going to be lost, and a long angle held by Rise. You can do work against the Clash with Kali. You shoot the shield, and it pushes the Clash back, just like a stun from Zofia would do. So definitely something that can use and abuse, as we saw it used in APAC only a few days ago.
Big struggle as usual in order to gain control of study. There's 2 ways in, 3 ways if you go up the main stairs with a drone, but I would suspect that we're going to see somebody from forZe playing aggressively on those stairs as they had before. The Clash has been called to action over inside of Master, at least what we saw from the silhouette. She's actually got her shield on her back, but expecting a push-up. There you go. A little bit of damage being done to Corey as he's moved off of his place. If he goes on over towards Armory, there's a single bullet hole in that Armory desk that can, or rather inside of Astro desk, that could do some major damage. And there you go. Perfectly looked at. That's a good spot for forZe to find themselves in. And it's very unlikely that Rask is going to get droned out or spotted. So the Clash's job is actually to kind of move the rest of Rogue over in that location. It's done a very successful job. Looks like it's Corey there. Might go head-to-head with Rask if anything happens. While Pasha's been stunned inside of Trophy, slowly but surely Rogue is realizing the location of these members of forZe, but there's under a minute to go for both of these teams, and forZe is still sitting on match point. They want the win, and their win condition is just to simply get an early pick or 2, and then hope for the best with this Clash.
And look at this, the Clash is still in. All 5 players are in for the defense, and there's 2 drones left for Rogue, but they're just going to go over in for the face check. Corey's going to get one, Rask for another, as Aces will refrag, and the Clash is just unresponsive. She doesn't know where to go, and there's the shield being pushed away. You're going to have to deal with that as the Clash smoke being thrown in, and the shot in the side, it's actually working. The Kali's doing work, and WTG is laying back on the floor by that indestructible bar. Rise is going to take down a Mizian, who falls right in front of his teammate Shockwave. A relatively safe plant here as the Ella's going to go for the gunfight. This is looking like a tie at the end of it, and the Ella is going to go down to Aces. Rogue fight on back, and that's what I talked about. If you want to use the Kali, dealing with that Clash is very effective, but once you take away the support around the Clash, she's no longer that useful. And there's the end. It's a tie.
Who'd have guessed that Akali being